Hi guys. We're actually getting a vlog on my way home from work today. Yes, I know I just did one this morning, but I was just thinking, well, first of all, it's a gorgeous day out. The air is just perfect. It's almost giving me goosebumps touching my skin. The warmth of the sun. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's just perfect. And it reminds me of just how good life is and how how good God is, and I was just thinking, and I was talking to a friend that I hadn't talked to in a while, a few months. I talked to him today. He used to work with me. He's this great, wonderful man I used to work with. And it was so nice to catch up with him. We do, even though we don't talk every day or a few weeks or anything, we do catch up. And so I was talking to him, and I was telling him he's known about our struggles, mine and my husband's struggles with infertility, and I let him know that we're going to our trip to Barbados, and he was asking about, my volunteer work, if I was still at the hospital, which I do quarterly work with. Not as frequent as I would like, but I'm doing quarterly work with them. They, if I wanted to work with them more than quarterly, require vaccinations, and because of my autoimmune disease, I just didn't feel like it was worth the risk to vaccinate myself and stay up on different vaccinations, so I opted out, but I'm allowed to do quarterly work with them without needing to be vaccinated. So anyway, we're just talking about a bunch of stuff, and I forgot that I had not been able to mention to him the amazing news of how my nephew and sister are now living in Dallas, and I don't know if I've ever shared this story with you guys, but I'm sorry if there's backwind. I have my window open because it's just too gorgeous not to have it open. I want to go for a walk, even though my legs are killing me, and they are sore. I just want to be outside right now because it's just so gorgeous. So anyway, I got to share the story with him about some answered prayers, and I just felt inspired to get on here and talk about it for a minute and share the story with you. But some background history. Me and my sister, she's 1 year older than me, her and I had not spoken up until recently, about 6 months ago, maybe less. We had not spoken for 3 years, I think it was, maybe longer. We got into an argument that ended with "have a nice life," and that was it. And during that time, during that time, it was probably 3 years, close to 4, I don't know. But anyway, during that time is when I got married to my husband, so she didn't come to my wedding. And, a lot of stuff happened in my life, and we weren't talking, so she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know I was struggling with infertility. She just didn't know anything about my life. We did not speak to each other. We didn't communicate. So, and I think that my parents kind of stayed neutral and didn't really tell each other what was going on. Maybe if we asked, I don't know. I don't know what they told her about me. I didn't really ask too much about her. But during that time frame, during my struggle with infertility and me not speaking to her, I found out through my mother that she had an oops pregnancy and had gotten pregnant at the age of 41. Her first pregnancy was also a oops pregnancy with my nephew, who's now almost 20. And at the time, the father, kind of bailed, so I moved in with her and I kind of helped her raise him in the beginning. And so I have a very close relationship with my older nephew. And so when I heard the news that she had this oops pregnancy, I got really angry and upset. I was angry at God. I was angry at the situation. I didn't understand why me and my husband, who planned and prepared for a child and did things the right way, weren't being blessed with a child, yet she, who was a single mom, got two blessings of children, and I didn't even get to have one. And so I was really angry, and it took a long time to resolve that, and it was probably best that we didn't speak for all those years, because there was just so much anger and resentment and jealousy and hate and all these really, really bad negative emotions that I don't know if I would have been able to have a good relationship with her at the time. She did live out of state, obviously, so the years had gone by, and I kind of got over it, but the most upsetting part of me finding out that she was pregnant was knowing that I was going to have a nephew that would come into this world, and that I would have no access to him because he was in another state, plus her and I weren't speaking. And so I thought, it's one thing to have infertility and not have your own child, but it's another that, potentially my last niece or nephew I was not going to have access to. And like, here was a baby that I could have in my life if we weren't going to have our own. And this baby was in another state with a person who wasn't speaking with me. So that was a really tough pill to swallow. And I had a really hard time with that. A while ago this year, about 6 months ago, I just really started praying. I thought, what had been going on with me and her had lasted long enough, and I didn't know how our situation was going to be fixed. We tried to make amends 1 or 2 times, and that lasted like a day or two, and we had a huge blowout again, and then it just it was over again as fast as it had started again. So we just, it was not a good situation. So I started praying and praying and praying, and I thought, God, please heal this relationship. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to be healed, but I need your intervention because I don't know how to handle this, and you can do a much better job than I can. So I swear, within days of beginning those prayers, intently praying on it. I would say prayers periodically, but with intention and really wanting to see a change. I got a phone call from my sister, who said to me, I would like to make amends. Let's not talk about my parenting skills or how I handle my children or the choices I make, blah, 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 because we used to have a lot of fights about that. She goes, but let's just move forward and have a relationship. And I said, okay, fine. And then a week later, and I'm sure this was all contemplated and it led up to it, which is irrelevant at this point. I don't really care. But a week later, I got a call from her saying that she had a job interview in Dallas, and she was coming here for an interview with Jake, and she wanted me to meet him. Jake is my nephew. And so I said, okay, great. So she has a friend that lives here who she was going to be staying with when she came for the job interview, and she contacted me when she got here, and come to find out that the lady's house that she was staying at was actually about a 7-minute drive from my work. Like, of all of the places in Texas and all the areas in Texas, she was 7 minutes away from my work. So I went over there to see her and to meet my nephew, who at the time was still a little baby, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, he was around there. And so she ended up getting a job, and she ended up moving here, basically, and she's been here since. And I thought, who would have thunk years ago, or even last year, that I would have access to my sister, my relationship would be healed, and I would have access to my nephew, who I see every other weekend now. I couldn't have done that myself. I couldn't have made that happen. I couldn't have talked her into coming here or doing that. I like to share testimonies like this because I think they're very important, that when we don't even see how it can be remotely possible, how something could come to fruition, I never in a million years imagined that I would have access to my nephew. I just didn't see how it was possible. I wasn't going to move to Kentucky, which is where she was. And there was no reason for her to move here. And plus, I didn't even see us speaking. We couldn't even get along for a day when we tried to make amends. So I just didn't see it happening. And I thought, only God can do the impossible. And so now I have a sister who's back in my life, and I have a beautiful nephew who I adore to pieces. And I just wanted to share that with you, that if you don't see how something can happen, how your life can change, how your dreams can come to pass, how your situation can be healed, don't try to figure it out yourself. Just pray on it, and God will find a way. He will. So, thank you for listening, and praise God.